Hello, hello, hello. This is 3D or 2D.com's The 3D Show.
It came from the third dimension.
As always, I'm your host, Adolph Vega, and with me is...
James Tate.
Put on your 3D glasses now. 3D glasses not included.
And if you're wondering what the 3Ds are in The 3D Show, well, they stand for discussion, debate, and the news. I will not be talking about
Disney ruined Star Wars.
and or
The Bears.
or
De Beers.
but we will probably talk about
Avengers.
and
Mario!
I do hope you enjoyed the show. The show, get it? Welcome to episode 59. So we got quite a few little things to talk about, James.
Yes, we do. Unfortunately, starting out with some sad news. Bill Paxton has died just today, too.
Yeah, Bill Paxton is, he's one of those actors that's been pretty much everywhere. Like, you'll recognize him when you see him, because he's been in, like, a ton of movies, you know, and it's, you know, he's been on Training Day, he's been in the TV show Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., he's been, you know, you just, you know, look him up on IMDb and you'll be like, man, this guy's been everywhere. And he's a good actor, and it's, you know, he died from complications of surgery, which is, you know, terrible way to die, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, I mean, Apollo 13, True Lies, you know, he's been an actor for a while since, you know, and you kind of know him if you see him kind of thing. And yeah, it's sad, but, you know.
Oh, well.
All right, so let's move on. So let's talk about, let's start things off with some confusion about Batman. So last time we talked about Matt Reeves being potentially the director of Batman. And now recently he said no, he's not part of it. And then eventually now again, he is part of it. So there's a lot of drama there with the director of Batman, since Affleck is not interested in doing it or doesn't feel like he can do it right. So a lot of drama there, which hopefully...
Yeah, hopefully, what I'm hoping is that this just doesn't cause, like, an issue, and then we get another mess of a movie, because sometimes directing and things like that, and complications and drama about who's going to be directing the film and things, causes for actually a very sloppy film.
Yeah, and especially since Affleck is known to be a little bit harder to work with. You know, he has his hands in this movie, producing it and acting in it, you know, so it's kind of one of those things where it can get really ugly, and, you know, hopefully it works out. You know, sometimes we see it, sometimes we don't see it. You know, some movies have a lot of horrible backstory, and, you know, it works out. You know, I really like Star Trek Beyond last year, and that was a mess of behind the scenes, but it worked out. And sometimes they don't, you know, just whatever. Hopefully this works out, because I'm looking forward to seeing him in the solo Batman movie, Affleck. So. Yeah,
it's just, to me personally, it's just a little bit weird that, you know, we're starting with a Batman solo film before, you know, it's after the big crossover.
Yeah, you know, DC and Warner Brothers is all over the map with this and trying to get good with audiences, and, you know, but we'll see. So let's talk about another strange director / actor, Mel Gibson. So it's kind of talking right now if maybe he's going to be the director of Suicide Squad 2. Now, okay. What do you think of Mel Gibson overall?
I like a handful of his films. I think that he's good at, I mean, I think that he's crazy personally, but, yeah,
Okay. That's what we're getting at, because, was it a few years ago, he was drunk and then he said all these really hateful, horrible things, and he hasn't really been around for a while. I mean, here and there. But here's the thing. Sometimes you could like the art without liking the artist. And you know what? He said horrible things. I still can like his work, you know? Just like, you know, you can divorce those two things, I think. And I don't agree with what he said when he was drunk and, you know, a couple years ago, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, first of all, the last movie he directed was actually last year's movie, which I really like. It's a action movie, a kind of a war movie. What is that called? And Hacksaw Ridge. And it stars Andrew Garfield, and he plays a character who's in World War II, and he has a moral objection to actually, you know, killing people, so he just wants to be a doctor. And it's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. It is a brutal war movie. I cannot deny that. It is absolutely brutal, but it's realistic brutal. And I think this is probably Andrew Garfield's best work. I really like how this movie looks on screen, and that's directing. So, you know what? I'm fine with this. If he does it, fine. I'm not, you know, there's plenty of times where I don't like the actor, but, you know, I like what he does, or what she does, or whatever, you know? You don't have to be friends with them and like them personally. You know, they may be a total...
Exactly.
You know, jerk or something, and they may be, you know, it's, you'd want him not to be that way, but it's not, we don't live in that perfect world. Sometimes the artist behind it is not ideal, you know, but I don't agree with him. So it's one of those weird things I can walk that line, or other people are like, nope, he did something bad a couple years ago, I'm never going to forgive him. And, you know, I kind of want, you know, I'm fine with redemption and trying to prove yourself. And Hacksaw Ridge is a fantastic movie. Probably top 5 of last year. James, if you get a chance to see it, definitely go see it. I mean, it's brutal. It is one of the most brutal war movies I've ever seen, but it's so powerful and well done. So I can't deny him that, and that's his last movie. And I haven't seen Apocalypto, but Passion of Christ, I thought that was a very powerful movie too, you know?
Yeah, I actually really like that movie, and I really like how kind of authentic it is. Like, that's probably that's probably how it happened. And another thing is that, you know, Mel Gibson has said that he's interested in doing a second one. But, you know, personally, I think that he's a very good filmmaker, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, The Patriot, I really like that movie too. It really, you know, gets...
Yeah, and one thing that he's very good at, and again, I don't know how much it's going to be in Suicide Squad too, but at least for all the films that he's done with kind of a historical basis, they've been pretty accurate.
And he does action really damn well.
Yeah.
So that's action. This could work. You know, I'm positive about this. I like the idea of this. And, you know, his past being his past, it is what it is, and you don't have to like it. But, you know, it doesn't, just because I like him as a director, as an actor, doesn't mean I like what he does. And I'm fine with this. You know, hopefully, you know, studio can make a story that fits Suicide Squad better. You know, I always kind of thought that Suicide Squad, you know, should be a smaller scale, not like about, you know, magical, you know.
And you know, I think that one aspect of the Suicide Squad that they kind of missed out on is the fact that, you know, like, it was kind of silly in the first one. But, I mean, honestly, you know, these are villains. These are criminals. I mean, like, it's not a very lighthearted story. So,
yeah.
You know, it embraced kind of the darker aspect of the team, I guess.
Like for me, they could try to break into a mob boss and take away his, if he has some kind of MacGuffin or something, Mr. Falcone has a kryptonite, and then they want to take that away, a red kryptonite and something or whatever. They could make it into like a heist movie, kind of like Ocean's movies. That would work. I think that could really work for, Suicide Squad, and, if they do something that's completely illegal, but they have some kind of weird justification for it. I think this could work. So, sure. You know what? His past is his past. Don't like him personally, but you know what? They could still do a big good act, or still do good work. So, alright. So, we got some information kind of sort of about Star Wars, episode 8. So, James, it said here that, maybe the title being The Last Jedi is not referring to a single person. You're the Star Wars expert. Is Jedi plural for Jedi? Or is Jedis?
Yeah. Usually it's not referred as Jedis. It's referred to as just Jedi. So, for one Jedi, two Jedi, it's the same.
So it's like fish.
Yeah.
You don't say fishes, you say fish.
So, though the title, The Last Jedi, is kind of misleading. I think that the title, The Last of the Jedi, would be a better term. So.
Okay. So.
But yeah, because the only problem with the name is that it kind of focuses on a singular, it's a singular phrase. You know what I mean? What I'm trying to say?
Yeah. Yeah. Because it looks like. What was that?
I could see why people got confused because, the title's a little bit misleading.
Yeah, and, it kind of looks like that Luke is the only Jedi left, but we don't know that, for sure. Jedi, in this time period, Jedi are incredibly rare, so there might be more of them, official Jedi, not with, so, lore more than me, is there supposed to be that many Jedi left after,
Well, okay, in the original series, so Luke has reestablished the new Jedi Order, or it was the Jedi Order, and by 30 years after it, I would say that the Jedi Order had grown a tenth of its original size. So it grew pretty well, but I mean, they're not it's not the hundreds that there were in the prequels.
Okay. So that's a good thing. There's probably a lot more to the story than we know.
Yeah. I personally hope that there's a good handful left, because I just can't buy the fact that one rogue Jedi could kill all of the Jedi. It just seems kind of vague to me, because Vader couldn't even do that.
Yeah. And Vader was pretty awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So that's interesting. That, it kind of was a misleader, but now we know a little more, and I'm still super hyped for this movie. I think everyone is, except for you. Are you still going to boycott this one too, James, or no?
I might see it. I don't know. I mean, personally, it's just I don't know. I mean, they're okay films. It's not my favorite.
Okay, so let's move on here. So we got some interesting 3D printing news. So 3D printing, James, is basically plastic filaments that are melted, and the computer will shape it into whatever you want it to be an actual 3D shape with length, width, and depth. So that's why, right now it's become relatively cheap to do 3D printing compared to how it was not that long ago. Now, there's a new researcher that talked about this, and they figured out how to use the machine to use 3D printing with hemp and coffee. So some of the byproducts of hemp and coffee, they're able to, make the computer recognize it and use it to build shapes out of. So that's really cool. This may be, assuming that hemp is legalized, which I'm not going to assume anymore, which hemp, I'm 100% in favor of legalization of that, but that's a whole different story. And hemp as a material is a very, very useful, material. So if people do make mass production of it, having the byproduct be able to make 3D printing would be really cheap and really good for the environment and good to make a product out of. And coffee, of course, is coffee. You could make, byproduct of that. But using different kinds of things for 3D printing instead of plastic is really interesting. And, the future is really starting to embrace this, 3D printing idea. And, we may have, in the future, replicators from Star Trek,
Yeah, we could really see a lot of things in the future, There's so many new technologies. It's practically like every day,
So it's pretty cool. We don't talk about 3D printing that much because we just don't know that much about it. But it's interesting news, and it's good to have a little bit of perspective of how the news is going around with it, So let's move on here. Let's go on to the VR world here with, so VR is being used recently to help, teach empathy and compassion to people. Now, you're probably wondering, how does that really work? So basically, people are using VR to put you into a scenario. So that way how it is to really be there. So, they're going to, just for example here, they are trying to get people to feel like they're in Sudan, during the Civil War. And they're, trying to get, people to feel like they're really part of that war and how things were or are. I'm not too knowledgeable about that, but having that empathy that you can really feel, be in, the old saying of, you don't understand someone until you walk a mile in their shoes. Well, VR could help you do that,
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think there was something similar with like prison and like that VR thing where they were testing it out, like as far as someone was just in jail in a cell,
Yeah, I remember hearing about that. That they basically taught people, oh, this is how jail is. I don't want to be part of this, and it's completely boring, and nothing's going on in there. You just can feel like you really are in jail because you don't do anything, and that is, basically a lot of the experience of jail is just being in your cell, not doing anything, and but having these kind of different experiences, life experiences in VR would be very interesting. I can imagine, just overall having experiences like this that are not like a game. It's just to see how things were, like it's just, I remember when I was in high school, we went to the Holocaust Museum and we actually saw like, cabins, not cabins, but, I guess there was freight, but they were taking the Jews in to get gas. And we were like, okay. And we were put in there and we saw how tightly compacted it was and how horrible it was to have so many people in that kind of, thing. And it kind of really connected with me. And something like that, where you can really see how people are suffering or how things are better here or there, could really be fantastic for the future to, connect with people and get empathy and, sympathy and understand what really happened and how history is. Of course, being VR, that, you have to assume that the people are telling the truth and not making a false narrative, alternative facts and everything. Not putting stuff in that's perfect, their version of the truth, but having the real version of the truth, Yeah. But yeah, that VR could be really interesting to see, if a rich person doesn't understand how it is to be poor, then you could put a VR and you could see how it is to actually live in a slum,
Yeah.
You can see how it actually is to be in a Apple plant that makes Apple computers, what is it, Foxconn? To actually work in Foxconn and see how their work environment is, and those kind of things could be really interesting to see how it can impact people. And hey, this is not I don't feel comfortable buying my clothes that are made from this kind of whatever slave labor, you know what I mean? And seeing that for your own eyes and experiencing that with your own VR could be really interesting to see how the world is from different perspectives, Yeah. Do you have any ideas to how to make that more interesting, or what kind of empathetic VR that you would want to see?
I think it would be kind of interesting to use different scenarios as far as different historical events.
Mm-hmm.
To kind of show what the people went through. I don't know, something along the lines of taking you back through history to kind of show how tough things were, or how because really a lot of history has been very brutal to everyone. And so I think that a more it's historical, and it's also kind of educational.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
People often say that, war movies, like I mentioned earlier with Hacksaw Ridge, they're really brutal, but if you're actually there and you see how brutal those war, things are, that could be pretty intense and make you rethink about having war, and it could be really interesting if people use it the right ways. The right ways being very subjective, and that's the key, I remember, and I won't forget that experience in high school, going to the Holocaust Museum and seeing the horrors of that.
Arizona? Or where
no,
was that?
I don't even remember where that was. I think it was here in Texas. I don't remember. I think it was. I just remember going to it, and I remember, going and seeing things, and that experience of seeing that. It's no, it was a horrible thing, and I really got to feel, not really feel, but it was more than just a textbook reading facts. It was seeing that history come alive and be wow, this actually happened, and having that, being the backseat of a bus, during the civil rights movement, having that kind of experience might be good to see, and, it might be good to see how it is to be poor, for people that are suffering right now, There's famines all over the world, and there's people suffering all over the world, and a lot of people just don't care, and it's easy to not care, and it's easy, having this VR experience could wake you up and be man, I really do want to help out those people, so it's interesting. I'm favoring this, so let's get off something less serious and go to something totally kind of serious. I don't know. Let's just move topic to Terminator 2 3D gets release date on August 25th. So that's 3D conversion. They did mention that they're going frame by frame. The people that are doing Avatar sequels, James Cameron is overwatching this, because James Cameron directed Terminator 1 and 2. and Avatar, and they're upgrading the graphics or updating the visuals to be 4K, and they're doing everything, every frame of every second of that movie is going to be processed to look the best in 3D. And I actually really do trust, this studio that's making it, considering that they're putting the most effort into there. So that's cool. I'm definitely going to watch that in 3D, and I will try to do a review. I will try to do an unbiased review as I can, but I do consider Terminator 2 one of the best action movies ever. So it's going to be kind of hard for me to review that as a movie. I kind of like the Extreme Edition you could buy on DVD and Blu-ray. That has additional 20 minutes of scenes. I think it really adds more to the movie. So the theatrical version is still great, but I prefer the Extreme Collector's Edition, more. You haven't seen Terminator 2, have you?
No, I haven't.
I think this would be a fun thing for you to watch. You've seen the other Terminator movies, right?
No.
Okay. Well, T2 is, I think you could watch T2 and understand what's going on without necessarily watching T1. And I think T2 is easily the best of all the Terminator movies. I think people still really love the original, and I like the original a lot, but I think graphically it does not hold up the test of time. And I think T2 does. And
yeah.
A lot better acting, a lot better, everything. The budget was increased and everything's better about T2. So, and it's coming out with just about that time frame all over the world. So, we got some dates for, it's all within that week. So you get T2 on, was it August 25th here in America, but you also get it, just because we have other people, let's say here, August 24th in Australia, August 25th in United Kingdom, August 29th in Germany, and for some reason, France doesn't get it till September 20th. So, France, I'm sorry, you're going to have to wait a month after everyone else gets it, but still, that's pretty relatively quick. I think it already came out in China or just about to come out, and I'm not sure about other parts of the world, but hey, if it's a pretty big success, I think it'll get distributed everywhere else, and I look forward to it. I think Terminator 2 is awesome.
I mean, there's plenty of films like that just, they age really well.
Yeah, and I think the fact that they're going to convert it and go every step of the way, and not only convert it to be 3D, but actually clean it up to be 4K as well. It's going to look beautiful, and they're putting effort here. Where a lot of other people, when they convert a 2D movie into 3D, they don't necessarily care as much. Where this one, it looks like they're really going to, put effort into here, being, months, if not a year, making this and conversion. So that's definitely really cool. And T2 is pretty awesome. So, all right. So we got one more story here. So Lego Batman has been a pretty huge success lately. I'm going to review it soon for the site, and I really like it. I actually kind of like it more than the original Lego movie. But the director now is going to actually make a Nightwing movie for Warner Brothers, for DC. Now, I think that's really interesting because, it's very comedic and Lego Batman, and having him go to do Nightwing, I think could be really interesting. Now, James, can you inform anyone who Nightwing is, just in case they don't know?
Nightwing is the superhero that Robin becomes after he basically stops being Robin.
And remember, there's multiple Robins, right?
Yes.
So this is the first Robin.
Dick Grayson.
Dick Grayson. And so after he grows up, after he becomes 18, 19, he becomes, another vigilante Nightwing, to not be Robin forever, to be,
Be his own.
He doesn't necessarily work with Batman, but he's not really against him, He still sees him. Yeah, sometimes they may team up, but, he has his own little area to take over. And I do like the idea of this. I think it'd be really interesting, to see a Nightwing. And I don't know of any real villains specifically for him. Does he have anything that's like specific to him or no?
I think he has his own rogues gallery, but I'm not that, adept with the character. So, but I'm pretty sure that he has his own, though.
He doesn't have any powers. He's just another vigilante like Batman that is, really, really. So that's interesting. Dick Grayson becomes him, like you said before, and he's, much more athletic than Batman, I think is a good way to describe it. Part of that being his circus, acrobatic style.
Yeah, exactly.
So that seems cool. I'm not super in favor of this because they're just doing a lot of stuff. I kind of wonder how they're going to flash back, because that's been one thing that they've never really done well in live action, is to present Robin.
Yeah.
I mean, the 60s one, he's just there. But it just doesn't, it's one of those weird things that works in comics, but not necessarily, they haven't done it in a live action movie that really makes it work. So, because they have to establish that, I think. Maybe like first 15 minutes or something, establish that he was Robin, have him out,
Mm-hmm.
Because I think a huge amount of people may not know who Nightwing is. So
yeah, they'll be like, "Who's Nightwing?"
So yeah, I think it's pretty cool. He's been here and there. Some TV shows have had him for like a couple, some animated shows here and there. He wears like a black suit with like a blue-ish bird kind of look onto his chest, just in case. It's just like a little mask over his eyes, but that's it. So yeah, I'm fine with this. It's not, Lego Batman I really like. Obviously different live action to, different movie, but I'm in favor of this. So Academy Awards is going to be today. We're recording this on February 26th. And I don't know if you remember, but last year we did awards, and we're going to be doing that again this year.
Nice.
So it'll be a 2016 second annual Achievement in 3D Awards, and I'm going to post them on the website soon. But, we actually have fun, and we like to have a lot of interesting categories there. And, of course, everyone goes to the website can vote. It's on Google Forms, and we're not going to be elitist and be like, oh, you're not part of the Academy. Anyone can vote.
Yeah.
So look forward to that relatively soon. And so that's basically going to be it. All right. Well, I'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
All right, so that's going to wrap up this podcast.
Remember to like, comment, favorite, subscribe, love, whatever. Heart it, be something.
3D or 2D.com can be found on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher Radio, and SoundCloud. And if you want to send us email, our email address is email3d or 2d at gmail.com. And thank you again for listening. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye, everyone.